there, welcome to Boxing Deep Dive. I'm Lyndon Hosking and great to have you along for our weekly show. We've got plenty going on in the world of boxing at the moment in Australia and overseas. I'm going to bring in my co-host for this episode. And as always, Grant Tassie Brown and Peter Maniatis. How are we, guys?
Good, thanks, Lyndon.
Good to see you guys.
Now, of course, we're a night early because the powers that be at No Limit decided to put the show... Well, they didn't decide, of course. Nature decided that, but the show's been put back 24 hours, so we decided instead of recording our show up against that, we would do it tonight and have a great show out if you're watching this Thursday.
Bit of news there. I don't know if this is on the list or anything, but you probably know about it. But Liam Wilson's opponent coming 4 kilos overweight.
Yeah, I've got that on the list to talk about.
Lyndon wants to ask me about that. No, I've got a strong opinion on that one.
And I'll be happy to hear yours too, Tassie, because I just want to know if you're in that position, what your tack would be. But I've got, just wait for it. We'll wait till we get to the actual segment. Look, there was plenty going on. And look, I will say straight off the bat, we'll get to the No Limit show in a minute, of course, but just, I say it every week, hats off. Now, these guys, with all the floods and that going on, they've got fighters coming from all over the place. They've managed to shift venues within 24 hours or 36 hours, whatever it was. So, geez, that's dedication to the cause, isn't it, Tassie?
Yeah, mate, they're a good crew, mate. The pressure's on. They got it done. And, yeah, mate, we talk about them a fair bit, but they deserve every bit. They just get it done. That's simple. Like, they produce, they do all the good shows. They've done a great launch the other night, which was impressive, and just first class. They just come out of nowhere, Matty Rose and his brothers, and I'm sitting back just admiring their work as a fellow promoter. Just next level.
And same as you, Pete, it's a tough gig, isn't it? But you can just tell by the response from the fighters, the relationships being formed there, because every single one of them thank No Limit for going ahead with the show and the effort they've put in, and it's a great way to build a platform to have more and more fighters come on board. Yeah,
for sure. I mean, when you've got TV, you've got the money, you've got the sponsorship. Fighters don't have to sell tickets. They just rock up. They feel like professional athletes. There's no how much have you sold? Are you short on the table? You can't fight.
That'd be unusual.
All that type of jazz. It's TV. You do a press conference. You feel like a fighter. You're staying decent hotels, not backpacking joints and stuff like that. Lyndon keeps laughing. You know something, Lyndon. Let us in something.
I'm not going to say, but there is a little bit of an in-house thing going on here. But anyway, hey, look, when you save a buck, you save a buck.
Mount Macedon, you've got not a Putin can get you a Mount Macedon.
I hear Bendigo Caravan Park's not a bad place.
It's a pretty good place, the Caravan Park up in Bendigo. Yep, only the best.
Say, Lyndon, your mate Wade Ryan's on the show. He weighed in and.
Let's lay off that one. 1 minute's had a few kicks in the guts over that one.
Lyndon, I'm gonna, mate. If he gets a victory, we don't want to talk to him if he loses, but can you get a one-on-one? If Peter can do George Gambosa's, surely you can get Wade Ryan.
Well, I might have to get you to get in contact, Tassie. You seem to be Mr. Boxing in Australia.
Is that a challenge?
It is a challenge. No, hey, the offer's off the table now. You only get asked once. But look, we've got except for George Gambosa's, of course. But he can come at any time. Well, look, guys, we've got a big show. We've got all the Aussie news coming up in a sec. We've got the world news. We've got Tassie's tirades back in a big way tonight. We've got the quiz, and the talking points, of course, as well. So plenty to get through as we prepare for Thursday night's big show, No Limit, with Nikita, Tszyu and Aaron Stahl. So let's get into the Aussie news, guys. And we'll get into initially what we just said then with the No Limit show. You can see there it's been put back 24 hours. Now it's March 3 at Nissan Arena. So great job also by Nissan Arena to jump on board and let the guys have it there in with that short of notice as well. But just Tassie, just a credit to all concerned, the venue, the promoters, the fighters, the teams, the fans, just everyone.
Yeah, 100%, mate. Great effort. And I didn't really mention this before, but our close friend, the team Tszyu, and I had dinner with Tim and Glenn probably a few months ago now when they come to Melbourne for an Everlast meeting, and sort of like we spoke about what they're going to do with Nikita, and it sort of surprised me because what he sort of said to me was they were going to have him on, like Tim, undercards around Australia, smaller platforms, smaller shows, weren't going to bring him up too quick. And then a few months go on and, he's main event on the TV. So that, I don't know what changed there. And when I talked to him, I asked him because he's one of the best in the business, if not the best. But that was just a one-on-one conversation. They were going to bring him along like Tim when he fought in Bendigo, fought in Townsville, etc.
All over the place.
So I was thinking about getting Nikita on Tasmania if he was just going to start off on the little shows. But then something must have happened. I must have thought, bang, we'll just go main event and won't really go back from there. So, I guess No Limit might have persuaded to fast-track Nikita because they might fear of losing Tim. If Tim starts winning world titles in America, he might not fight here. He might have a defence if he wins or... So it's a bit, I don't know what happened there, but that was just a conversation.
Yeah, no, it's an interesting one. I remember you saying that. And Pete, do you think it might have a little bit to do with the Fox executives have maybe said, hey, we're putting money into these Fox events. We need to have these big names headline whether they're ready or not.
Yeah, it's good to see, though, that Nikita stepped up. It's a big ask to come in as main event first up, but they got the right type of opponent for him. It wouldn't matter if that fight's in Tassie, Townsville, or Papua New Guinea. It's the right guy for him first up.
Yeah.
So you've interviewed him, Lyndon. I don't think we're going to get too many shocks, but it's going to be interesting to see how quickly they fast-track Nikita because it took Tim about 10 fights before he actually started to be like a pro. And once the penny dropped, it became unbeatable as far as locally talking Australian level. But Nikita's a different cat, apparently. He comes to fight more and his defence isn't as good and he's a lot more open, but he's a bigger puncher. So we're going to have some exciting times with Nikita. And I'm pretty sure the Fox executives with that Tszyu name are going to be doing a lot with it.
Yeah, why not? If they're investing that sort of cash in there, I can understand them saying, well, as long as he's got the right opponent, there's not too much pressure on him. Let's get his name out there. We need people, eyeballs on these events. And
100%.
Yeah. So I think.
I'm wrapped. I just was surprised, as I said, from the conversation we had. But I spoke to Tim yesterday, and like he said, he's ready and everything, and I think Tim's looking forward to getting back to Sydney, but so they've been up there in camp in Queensland, and looking forward to it, mate. I wish him all the best. I've known him since he was a little baby, and good luck to Nikita, mate.
Yeah, well, let's have a look at the weigh-in that took place today. This is the firstly Steve Spark and River Daz.
This is going to be interesting.
Yeah, it's a really good fight. I think
it could steal the show.
Yeah,
it could steal the show.
Yeah, I think if you remember when his first fight was announced, I'm not sure whether you've seen a bit of him, Pete, but I think River Daz will take it right up to Stevie Spark, and it'll be an absolute ripper fight. And then, of course, we've got this fight here with Liam Wilson and Noine. 62.92 kilos. Wilson was 58.76 kilos, so over 4 kilos difference. So I'll let you guys comment on that in a second there. This should be a ripper as well. Our mate Wade Ryan up against Dennis Hogan. Really like what I'm seeing from both those guys. I think Dennis Hogan looks like he's really going to make this last-ditch attempt to grab another shot at a world title. And, of course, the two boys here. I think, what do you think here, Peter? I think actually Aaron Starr looks pretty tough. You'd think Nikita should have him more than covered, but looks like he's come to fight anyway. Yeah.
I mean, you can't tell with the Wayne, but it was good to see you mentioned River Diaz. I mean, he's a tough kid from Manila. He's actually a Filipino kid. I actually met him a few months ago. He's been sparring Joel Camilleri. I watched him and Joel spar. Great sparring. He comes to fight, and a terrific kid as well. Big shout out to River. I hope he puts in a big show because he's a fighter. He gives Joel some good rounds as well.
I bet he does, yeah. Well, he fought on one of my shows about 5 years ago, I think, and he definitely was the goods in there. And I think, as I said, Stevie Spark's a great young talent, and at light welterweight he's a different proposition. But I actually think, River Daz might take it up to him. But all in all, it's on Fox Thursday night, channel 505 it is. I think it starts at 7 p.m. So make sure you get on there, support these events, because the more eyeballs they get on there, obviously the more money goes in, the more shows we have, the better fights we have, and obviously gives these guys more of an opportunity to progress their careers. On to Nikita's brother, Tim Tszyu. Now, it was announced today, Tassie, I know you already have some intel on this one, but it was actually on the sites, a lot of sites today, that Tim Tszyu will headline his own card in Minneapolis, USA on March 26th, so a week after what the LA card was supposed to be with Castano and Charlo, and will actually headline Showtime Championship Boxing. So a great result, which was looking terrible there for a while.
Yeah, Tim told the Rose boys, make this happen. I don't care. Like, we spoke yesterday, and as I said, look, I know that you love being active, and he's a bit like Canelo. They're just that active, and there's no stopping them during COVID. He kept fighting, and like we say before, inactivity kills a fighter. And I mean, I remember his dad being out for 15 months or something at one stage. So Tim doesn't want that. He always wants to stay fight fit. And he told them make it happen. And to their credit, they have. So, yeah. So I wasn't going to speak anything about it, but it's been announced a bit today.
Yeah. It was on quite a few sites today.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Pete, how good is it? I know it's probably one of those things. And again, I keep saying it's another feather in the cap of the Rose boys and Glenn Jennings and all involved, where the fight with Castano and Charlo has fallen over. Not only have they haven't just put their head in the sand and said, all right, we'll wait for the rematch, and all the rest of us said, no, let's get on. And not only is he on another card, he's the main event on Showtime Championship Boxing. So a great result out of the situation.
No, for sure. And good to see PBC get involved. And obviously they've got him as a future fighter on their card so that they invest money. That's what happens in America. If they've got you and they really think that you're going to go places, you've got legs, they're going to invest money. They're going to put shows on for you. And Tim Tszyu, what is he, 26 years of age? He's got the next 5. He's got 5 years left in him at that top level at the minimum. So Showtime will be done. We've got 5 years left. At least for this guy, this is a small investment, penny in the pond to see where he's going to go. And for Tim Tszyu, it's his sort of first test on US soil, and it gets to, American people get to see him, and then he obviously, hopefully, he gets a little bit of hype because he's got that Tszyu name.
Yeah, no, it's a great result. So best of luck for that. I'm assuming they'll officially announce it now. It's doing the rounds on all the sites at PBC/No Limit will officially. Now it's not like No Limit have got anything else going on these days. Just a bit happening. So I'm sure they'll get around to it, and obviously PBC as well. So. On to some recent results. Last weekend, Dempsey McKeon got the 8-round decision over Ariel Esteban Bracamonte. I think I've pronounced that correctly. Tassie, I must say I didn't actually see the fight. A little bit early for me to get up, but by all reports, it was a workmanlike effort. The other guy wasn't really in it to win it, as they say, and he just did enough to get the rounds under him. But I think, considering it's his first big fight in England, it's probably not a bad way to get on the board.
Yeah, I didn't watch it either, but mate, look, happy for him. He's living the dream. He's over there in England under Matchroom Eddie Hearn, and he fought in America before, and now he's fought in England. So, like Liam Parro, they're living the dream, these kids. And big credit to Angelo DiCarlo, who's backed them from day one. They wouldn't be in this position without him, and they know that. And so, I mean, what else can a boxer want? I mean, Lyndon, we spoke about it, what you would have done if you would have turned pro, like a Robbie Peden or some of these guys that go over there, mate. You're living the dream. You're in the home of boxing, England or America, sparring partners, plenty of fights. If you're getting with a good promoter, you'll be brought along. To me, that's what boxing's all about. To live the dream, we all fantasize about it. I know I did. And these guys are doing it, so hats off.
Pete, what do you think about the decision with Dempsey to go with Eddie Hearn? Do you think the fact he's the heavyweight swayed the decision? I know Eddie Hearn's probably the biggest promoter in the world, but do you think it was based on his division to go with Eddie Hearn, considering he's got most of them guys stitched up?
Oh, look, he's an Aussie, and the Aussie, because George Kambosos actually won a big fight, it actually gave structure to the Australian fighters. So if George keeps going, because they're going to realise we've got some gems here as well, and no different to the old days of Bendigo. Lyndon, when the ships used to come from England looking for that gold, they're going to come. So I think there's gold, they're going to come. So Dempsey's a big white heavyweight, he's undefeated. Of course, they're going to keep plotting and seeing where he goes.
Yeah, no, it's good. And like you said, Tassie, promoters like Angelo DiCarlo probably don't get enough credit for the amount of effort and money and time they invest in these guys, get them and hand them off with the best wishes. So I think as you said, thank you to Angelo DiCarlo, who did it also with Liam Paro as well. Another fighter making their debut this week, another Aussie. You talk about overseas gems. We've got Sky Nicholson will make her debut this week on the Gonzalez and Martinez undercard in San Diego. So what do you reckon, Pete? It's our next superstar?
For sure. She's an Olympian. She's got everything you need. She's clean cut. And obviously that tragic story of her brother who was killed tragically in a car accident. So, or on the road. I think it was on a motorbike or a car accident.
Two brothers. Two brothers.
Yep.
So it was pretty tragic, and she's lived with that all her life, and now become a boxer. So it's good that she shook off all those early nightmares of a tragic start, and now she's making a lot of noise. And the British public are going to love her because she's got the look and she can fight. She's going to make a lot of money.
Yeah, I agree, and I think it's a great decision by her, Tassie, to go to England and hook up with Eddie Hearn, because she's got it all. She can fight. She's obviously got the look. She's got a social media presence, a lot of support back home. She's the English fight fans are going to love her. So a great decision to go over there and base herself over there, I think. What do you think?
Best decision ever. I mean, geez, again, she's living the dream. She's with the best promoter in the world. She's in England, which is one of the best boxing countries in the world. Women are hot over in England at the moment. Ebony Bridges is even having success, and I don't think she's at the skill level of this girl. Great amateur. She actually wasn't born, Peter, when her brothers died. Linda, remember, Jamie Nichols is one of the greatest amateurs we've ever had, hands down. Pound for pound, one of the top amateurs. I got to witness him coming up in the ranks, but he had a younger brother as well, died that day as well on the way to training. So Sky wasn't born, but I know her brother Alan very well. He's a good bloke and a good coach and good family, boxing family. And she was a great amateur, Commonwealth Games gold medalist, Olympics. She done well, just missed out on the big one. But mate, again, she's living the dream. She's going to do awesome. She's going to be gold over there. It's so good. So good. Yeah,
no, it's going to be great. And Pete, interesting to get your opinion on this one, because this fight's been changed on this week's Ace Boxing card, and I think it's an absolute ripper. Tytelford steps in to take on Tyson Best on the Ace Promotions card. Nathan Webber unfortunately pulled out. I'm not quite sure what happened. I don't know whether you guys saw what happened. It must only happen in the last day or so. But Tytelford, the road warrior himself, probably a bit like your mate, Tassie. What's your mate in Tassie?
Luke Woods.
Oh, Luke Woods, yeah. A bit like that. But Pete, this guy, he's just absolutely tough as nails. I think I had to include it tonight, so I just think it's going to be one of the fights of the year. What do you think?
Oh, for sure. Ty Telford's never in a dull fight, so it's good that he's stepping in. Tyson, I mean, he's a good fighter as well. And this is a real nice little matchup from boxing on last minutes to get it up and running. March 19, book that one in.
Yeah, I think it'll be great. And Tassie, he was stiff, wasn't he, Ty Telford? Because I thought he got ripped against Darragh Foley, but I think he also got ripped against Brubaker as well. Did you see those fights?
He definitely got ripped against Brubaker.
Yeah.
He won that fight, hands down. Good fight, but he should have won that fight. Foley, it was close. I think he knocked Foley down, and there was an argument for him. I didn't score it. I watched it. I like Darragh. I'm mates with Darragh. You can't just go with your mates. I'll probably shaded it for Darragh. But the Telford was close. That was his last fight too. So that was a while ago. That was last year.
Yeah, it was last year.
Don't know much about Best, but I'll probably give Telford the nod on this one.
Yeah, well, he's a good kid, Tyson Best. I think he lost to, obviously, Woods in his last fight. But he's one of those guys, he just fronts up, a bit like Telford, fronts up, gives his all every fight, no frills, just stands there and goes to war.
If he's fought Woods now, Telford, he's not playing games. He's fighting some good fighters.
Yeah, and these are the types of guys that I just love to give some recognition, because these are the guys that will go anywhere, they'll fight anyone, anywhere, anytime, and I think they just need to
be like your mate Wade Ryan.
Yeah. Wade Ryan, Luke Woods, all these guys. Look, I just take my hat off to all of them, because, as I said, as promoters, we're all promoters. you need these types of guys who say, yep, just sign the contract and let's go, and don't get all antsy about it, and to and fro, back and forth. I just like the ones to say, hey, just that's about right. Let me sign and get on with it. All right, guys, that's and sorry, that show is on this weekend. I think it should be on Facebook Live on the A's Boxing
site. The one's on March 19, isn't it? Is that the one in 2 weeks?
Oh, sorry, March 19. Sorry. I thought it was on the Floyd Masson card. Sorry, my apologies.
No,
it's on the 19th.
It's a bit after that. And also on March 19 is Ben Callaghan, Peter Salasui, the undefeated.
Sorry. Yep.
So no, it's not that
That's
card. Salisui's actually at MSAC in Albert Park.
Yep.
Kings of Combat. So big step up for
Yeah,
Peter Salasui.
I'll give a shout out too, Peter. You know him well. Hisham
Shamrock. That's his show.
Very good guy. Good promoter. Good bloke. I like Hisham. He's doing good things. And shout out to him. He doesn't get talked about much, but he does some really good shows. I know, Peter, you're very close to him, and he's a good guy, Hisham.
Does good things. So apologies for that. It's March 19th. This one, the Masson card is this weekend. So apologies about that. And then the March 19th one in Melbourne is the Kings of Combat.
A lot of boxing.
Too much to keep up with at the moment.
Matt Sheen's on that card up against an undefeated Fijian, and Cesar Afghan's on that card. Big raps from Cesar from Jeff Flynn.
Very good young kid. Yeah, and Tassie, before we get off the Aussie news, you've got your man on this weekend as well?
Got Bo Belbin on Brian Machuda's show. There's 2 shows, but Saturday, Sunday, we're on the Sunday card against Ryan Cotton. Bo's 5-0. I think he'll do well. He's had a good camp. He sparred the Bella brothers last week. Daniel Roberts and Joel Taylor, so good sparring. So you can't really get past that. I want him to be up here with me full time so we can get that training regularly, not just come up from Tassie. But Bo's a good kid, mate. I think with a few more fights, he can definitely fight for an Aussie title or regional title. So let's go Bo Belbin, Tassie boy.
Yeah, for sure. And we've obviously had him on our cards a couple of times, Pete. And after seeing him fight, can't wait.
More than a couple boys.
Yeah, nearly all his fights. Yeah. So, mate, I'm really looking forward to seeing him fight these types of guys, the Tyson Best and Tytelford of the world.
Good kid, mate. Really not. Well, I say he's a kid. Not really a kid. He's been a kid since I knew him when he was a kid. But he's
at our age, he's a kid.
He's a good guy. He's one of the good guys in boxing. He really appreciates. Yeah. He loves you guys. He appreciates everything anyone does for him, and he just really. Yeah, he's just a good, humble boxer, mate. He's a good kid.
Yeah, best of luck for this weekend, Bo. So we'll be watching on to
and one of his biggest supporters, Tassie, Big Bill Hack, Big Billy.
Yeah, shout out and all the Tassie as well. Get on board to Bo Bell.
He's a big fan of Petty Money Artist. Bill Hack loves Pete.
Is that right?
Well, I think sometimes he goes to me, but sometimes he might steer to a Peter during the quiz. It depends.
All good. And thanks for watching, guys. All right, let's go into some world news at the moment. So a little bit going on, and I know, Tassie, your tirade tonight's going to have a fair bit to say on a couple of subjects. But before we get to that, let's get to the big announcement this week, which is Canelo Alvarez and Dmitry Bivol will fight for the WBA light heavyweight title on May 7th. Now, I've put there as Las Vegas. That's what it's been penciled in as at the moment, but there is talks that it may be Dubai. So, Tassie, what do you make of this fight?
Canelo has said before, you would have heard this in an interview, I was born ready. Love Canelo, massive fan. He's become a Mayweather, A-side, to pick whatever he wants to do. He's earned the right. There's options there. Different names thrown out of super middleweight. He's going on and taking an undefeated Russian monster in Bivol. There's 2 Russian monsters in the division. This guy's one of them. Probably a better boxer than Abdulayev or whatever his name is. But, mate, tough fight, mate. You know, undefeated, young, good Russian, strong guy at light heavyweight. So, if anyone can do it, Canelo can do it. And if he does win, obviously him and Triple G
in September
have signed. So if they both victory, Triple G versus Morata. So these are good fights. This is with Matchroom, obviously. the deal with Eddie. There was another deal with Al Heyman, but he's gone with this one. Yeah, mate. I think he can do it. I think that the guy's a bigger puncher, bigger man, but Canelo, he neutralises guys. He adapts to everyone, and it could be like a Kovalev sort of. Not saying I'll knock him out, but I think he can. He's that much faster than these bigger guys.
Yeah, he is.
I really think he can do this.
Yeah, Pete, what do you think? You got to give Canelo credit, don't you, that he doesn't go for the easy touches. He wants the big guys for the big titles. So he's obviously earning his status in history.
Yeah, I've seen a few of Bivol's fighters. I saw him fight Craig Richards, the English fighter, and that was a real close fight. And that was during COVID. There was no crowds, and it was on a matchroom card. And it was interesting to see without a crowd where you can concentrate. Sometimes when there's no crowd, you can concentrate more. And Craig Richards really gave him a top fight. It could have gone either way. Craig Richards is a very good fighter. I mean, he's at that level. Anthony Yarde and Callum Johnson and all these new British fighters that are coming up, and they're all at light heavyweight. Bivol, I think he's a very, very good fighter, but he's not a pound-for-pound fighter. And Canelo seems to float up in weight, and it doesn't bother him. So I can't see this guy putting too many road closures on his path. Canelo's looking to make $100 million in the next couple of fights. I can't see that being derailed by Bivol. I'm sorry, but I just can't see it.
Yep. Yeah, no, 100%, mate. All right, let's get on to one of the big fights from last weekend, and had a little bit of controversy about it. Josh Taylor retained his undisputed 140-pound title. So that's junior welterweight or super lightweight, with a very controversial win over Jack Caddell. Tassie, I know you're going to go over this in your tirade, but first thoughts though, how'd you have it scored?
Yeah, I had it about 8 rounds to 4 for Caddell. There was points taken and all that stuff.
And a knockdown.
Knockdown, yeah. So, but yeah, I thought he'd done a great job as the underdog, mate. I didn't know he was that good. He boxed, he punched, he landed some good clean shots, and Taylor was just trying to force the fight too much, and maybe the crowd, maybe the stage trying to knock him. He wanted to knock him out, and maybe a bit of weight troubles too. But look, at the end of the day, he boxed a real good fight, Caddell. I didn't know that he'd sparred Canelo and Mayweather in the past at camps, and he done the shoulder roll really well. He pushed off with the shoulder a few times and landed some good shots. I thought he deserved the win. This is one of the we'll talk about it later, but bit of a heartbreaking Zuma Nelson Phoenix style fight. Yeah,
no, it was. Pete, how did you have it scored?
Yeah, I thought Caddell won as well. Did any of you guys see the undercard?
No, I didn't. No.
Oh, you didn't? Gee, it was an interesting heavyweight with green hair, and he fought with a Scottish kilt. He was one of the most interesting characters I've ever seen. Very entertaining, but he didn't. Look, Caddell, for mine, was more cagey. He was better on the night. He dropped. He dropped Josh. He done everything he wanted to do, and everything except get the decision. It's one of those bad things about boxing, because he didn't have the reputation, and he kind of scored a big performance on the night that the reputation fighter got it. That's all it was. If Caddell's profile was bigger and they were more aware of him, he would have got awarded the fight. There was no way he lost that fight.
I'll talk later about it. The referee was woeful. Too much involved.
The whole thing was there. You're right. The referee was woeful. The scoring was woeful. I probably didn't have it as wide in rounds. I thought maybe 7 rounds to 5 for Caddell. But the fact that he knocked him down and got the point taken away as well, it should have just been the double exclamation point on the decision. And I just don't know how the judges could have possibly thought that, and Josh Taylor himself thought that he won the fight. So I think Josh Taylor's the only one that's actually came out and said, I won the fight. And of course he's going to say that. But when you've got 99.99% of people saying that you lost, I think you've got to read the room a little bit.
There was another goose he was a great fighter, but he's a goose, Cole Frotch.
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
I think he's a dickhead. I think he's just the biggest hater in boxing.
Yeah.
He said too, but he's an absolute goose. Yeah. Can't copy.
Yeah. Yeah, well, so there it is. So, and look, Josh Taylor. I think the official scores, by the way, were Taylor 114, 111, 113, 112, and 112 to 113 for Caddell. Now, he's actually offered, I think initially he said there'd be no rematch, but I think he's heard the comments and watched the replay, and he said he'll give Caddell a rematch at 147, so welterweight. But Pete, that's probably not really in Caddell's interest, is it? If it's a non-title fight, really, what's he got to go? No, it'd be great to beat him, but does that put in jeopardy some other big money fights down the track for him?
Yeah, it could. It's just a funny situation. I really feel for Caddell because when a fighter gets ripped off like that, it just takes so much time to get back to where you were. He's an undefeated fighter. He won the fight. Give him his kudos.
Well, you know what, Peter? It's similar if George didn't get the decision against Lopez. So imagine if George went over and done what he done against the undisputed champion like Taylor, but didn't bring the belts home. That's what it's like, I think. You know? But now this guy, he shouldn't fight him at waterweight. He might fight for a vacant title, but this was the undisputed. He was going to have all the belts. Yeah. He'll never get the opportunity again. He never will get this opportunity again. Mark my words.
And
he might be a champion one day, but the chance to fight for all four, it won't happen.
Yeah, and you're right. Because I mean, if Taylor had probably some decency about him, he would put all the titles again on the line for him. But why would he do that? There's absolutely nothing to gain, I don't think, for Taylor. There's a risk of losing again. But
very arrogant in his interviews.
Yep.
I don't like him. Very arrogant. You know, pre-things at the swear at the when they do the talk with old mate, they sit down and talk whatever called beyond the gloves, and real arrogant Scotsman, mate. He got his ass kicked in his home country.
Yeah.
Fight him at that weight with the belts on the line, or don't bother.
Yep. I think that's the only thing that would restore his.
Because imagine Lyndon. Imagine if George didn't get the decision.
Yep. No, and you got to feel for Caddell, and all you got to do is ask Jeff Fennick, Pete, what a loss like that, or draw in his case, does to the psyche going forward.
Well, we spoke about it with Jeff. Jeff said it's not right. And I'll talk about it soon anyway. That's my rant.
All right, Pete. This weekend we've got Chocolatito. Hang on, I never get that right. Chocolatito. Roman Gonzalez up against Julio Cesar Martinez. So it's on this week. I think it's on DAZN. Yep, it is. What do you make of this one?
The super flyweight division got turned on its head when Jerwin Antajas got beat by Martinez as well.
I saw that.
With his 10th IBF title defense. Look, Chocolatito is a bit past it. He's not the fighter he was. He's still got a brilliant array of class and he still boxes brilliantly, but he's vulnerable. He's probably the third or fourth best now. He's not the best. And, I mean, this guy started at minimum weight. He started at the lowest and he's won 3 world titles in 3 different weight classes. So he's definitely a gun fighter and he's been a pound-for-pound number 1 before. But these are the type of fights that he's probably making good money on as he comes to the end part of his career because, as we know, they flyweights and light flyweights, as soon as you lose that touch of speed, and it happens as you get older, you're gone. You're gone. So Drew and Antas, we mentioned his fight before. That was a cracker up against the Argentinian managed by Marcos Maidana. That was an absolute cracking fight. If anyone wants to watch that on YouTube, get on there and watch it because it was a cracking fight.
Yeah, I didn't see that one, but I'll check that out. So make sure you get on DAZN this weekend. It should be a ripper. And one last bit of world news is that we mentioned this last week, but it's been officially announced. Tyson Fury, Dillian Whyte, 23rd of April at Wembley Stadium. Interest in this one, though, Tassie, they had the press conference today, and there was only one bloke there.
It's disgraceful that he's not here. It's not professional. If somebody else had won a purse bid, we would have helped to make that work. We'd have been Tyson or anybody, and he's done it. He goes to the press conference. This is madness.
It's never about the opponent. Like, whether it's his face on there or somebody else's, it's really unimportant. He's ugly anyway. It doesn't really matter. Take him down. We should take him down, Frank. This is about this man over here and celebrating his legacy and his boxing career and celebrating it on the biggest stage that the world can get, really. And it doesn't matter if it's Dillian Whyte, doesn't matter if it's Joe Joyce, Derek Chisora, Anthony Joshua, Usyk. It doesn't really matter. Wherever it will stop next, it's always going to be the Tyson Fury Roadshow. And like I said when I was fighting Klitschko, there's only been one man on these shores ever, and he goes by the name of Tyson Fury. I'm the only man on these shores, the only man who can deliver, pull it out every single time when the pressure's on. And even when I'm put down twice in the fourth round, I will get back up and knock him out, because that's what I do.
You got to love Tyson Fury. But can you get over that, Tassie, that Dillian Whyte said, no, I'm not coming. I'm not happy with, I don't know, it was his percentage or something, but he's refused to have anything to do with the promotion of the fight.
Yeah, look, again, another dickhead.
I don't think we need him, by the way.
Don't like the way he holds himself as well. Bit of a street dickhead. You can be from the street, but you still can act civilised. Think he's just a goose. Purse bid. Don't take the fight then. You know what I mean? So it's your duty to go along with the press conference. So it's a dangerous fight. Don't get me wrong. But absolute wanker.
Yeah.
Dosser.
Dosser. Yeah. What do you think, Pete? If you're in that position, would you just take him off the poster? Because at the end of the day, they don't really need his name to sell it, do they?
Well, when you sign a contract, there are clauses where you do have to turn up for things like that. If he doesn't turn up, give him a fine.
Yeah.
There should be fines in place if he hasn't got a medical certificate, or there could have been an excuse. But if his excuse is, I'm not happy with the terms, why are you signing the contract? Why are you fighting? If you are happy with the terms, go ahead and promote it, because that's what boxing's about. You've got to get bums on seats. And it's his job to do that. And it's his job to build his own brand and profile as well. He's going to get more followers. He's going to get more people know who he is. Sitting back, what would he have been doing? Sitting at home watching the soccer?
I think he lives in Paraguay, I think now. I think they said he lives in over there.
That's different. If he's probably in Paraguay, doesn't want to get over there, and it wouldn't have paid him. But, I mean, if he's sitting at home not doing anything, why not just make an effort and turn up to the press?
No, I tend to agree.
I think he's sitting at home watching reruns of Boxing Deep Dive, to be honest with you.
You never know.
And going in the quiz, Tassie Bumbaye. Tassie Bumbaye.
Well, it's coming up very soon, the quiz. While we're on you, Tassie, when you're on fire there, let's get into your segment. It is Tassie's Tirade. We quickly touched on it a little bit earlier with the Josh Taylor fight. What are your thoughts?
There's one thing I've always, I love boxing, it's my life. But one thing I've always hated is the judges and referees breaking fighters' hearts. There's no comeback from it. There's so many times where fighters have done their best, especially, it doesn't matter if they're champion or the challenger, but in this case, the challenger, the underdog, no one really give him a chance. He travels to Scotland, fights for all the belts. This is his dream since a little boy. He fights, a big name guy, one of the top pound-for-pound guys, because he's undefeated. He's got all the belts, so Taylor's up there. He's beat some good fighters. To go there, to give you all, to do enough to win the fight, and to have it taken from him. Like I said, our own George Gambosas, it would have broke all our hearts, including his, if he didn't get the decision against Lopez. Now, this is the same thing. Only this young man is not going home to England as the champion. Mate, I don't know what more he could have done. There was a knockdown, there was a point deduction, he outboxed, he'd done everything. Taylor was just sloppy. Andre Ward commentated, forcing his work. And the referee. Now, a lot of the problem I got, guys, and Lyndon, you'll know, and Peter, a good referee, you don't see a good referee. He just does his bit. He calls break, whatever. A referee that has probably too much ego wants to be part of the fight. You're not part of the fight. You're there to do a duty, conduct the fight. Mate, he ruined it. He was too much in their face so many times. It was just awful. And like Jeff Fennick said when we interviewed Jeff about the Zuma Nelson, this has to stop. The sanctioning bodies or someone of the powers to be have to start, I don't know, educating these judges, or, I don't know, finding them, or having some sort of, there's got to be some investigation, because so many times they break these young these guys' hearts, and they're never the same. And I don't think Catch will be the same. And I know for a fact, if Taylor doesn't defend the belts at that weight, he'll never fight for Undisputed again. The fights will be broken up. The belts will be broken. They'll all go to no one rank challenger, and we're going to have all these fights for the IBF, WC, WA, WO. He might get a shot, he might get a belt, but not the Undisputed.
Yeah.
So again, a black eye to boxing. Again, judges and referees have ruined young boxers' careers and broken their hearts. So fuck you to the judges and the referee the other day, and to all that have rorted some of the great boxers. And it's not fair. You win a fight, you win a fight. That's it.
Because we also had a couple of weeks earlier the Daniel Jacobs fight as well. I know that was obviously a lot closer, but you know, I did see somewhere on social media there was talk that England's becoming the new Germany. So I don't think I'd go that far. But what do you reckon, Pete? Look, hopefully it's just a coincidence and it's not going to be a habit. But Jesus, tough one to swallow.
Have you noticed one thing? And you've got to notice this. It's always the same referees, the same judges. We're not getting new people into the sport.
Yep.
Now, if we keep berating the judges and referees, these younger people won't want to get into it. It's the same with AFL football.
Yep.
You keep bagging the umpires. You know, you see Toby Green walking through one. Very good from the AFL to do what they did, because you've got to protect the officials, because we need younger ones coming through that are better than the current ones. And you've seen the tennis. Now they've got the electronic system. So if the ball's out, you can basically see it and challenge it. Yeah. With boxing, we haven't got that. I mean, in cricket, you got the RIS, you got snooker, you got all this. It's very hard in the heat of the moment to be judging things. So howlers like we just saw the other night, it's unexcusable. But we need fresh people in the game. We need fresh refs and we need fresh players.
But Tassie, before you comment there, like you talk about with the technology that's in other sports now, including Aussie rules and cricket knows as well. We've actually got some technology in boxing. Andy Maloney's fight with the judge.
I was about to mention it.
We still stuffed it
up. Took the words out of my mouth. Yeah.
No, but Lyndon, that one, if you listen to it, he called headbutt halfway through the first round, and he called headbutt again. And at the end of the first round, he said headbutt. So he put that in motion to everyone there that it was a headbutt. So, and when you actually in Las Vegas, let me take, the referee is a sheriff. No one can overturn a referee in Vegas. What he says is final. He's above the doctor.
Yep.
So the people that were involved with Nevada couldn't overturn it based on what the referee did.
Then why have the technology, Pete? Why have the technology there? I understand, 100% agree with you about the referee. It's always a referee's call. In that particular fight, though, the referee had the ability to say, we don't need a review, we don't need anything. That's the way it is. But they chose, I understand that, but they chose to go to the powers that be. The powers that be reviewed it for 30 minutes. It was so obvious there was no headbutt. And they still went. I know they got it back to referee, but that just made them look like idiots.
Well, there was a headbutt. Let's not say there was no headbutt. There was a headbutt.
Nothing that caused the eye, though.
There was a headbutt, Lyndon.
No.
Okay. No. I'm not saying that's what caused it, but there was a headbutt.
Well, in the first round, there might have been a grazing, but it had nothing to do with the injury.
The one that caused it was actually the jab.
Yep. And that's the one that's on the footage. Plain as day.
But there was a headbutt.
He jabbed his eye and his eye puffed up.
Yeah, that didn't cause the damage. It was actually the glove that caught and stretched the eye out.
Either way, the punch, whether it was a thumb or whatever, caused the eye to go. So the referee, let's face it, the whole Nevada Commission balls the whole thing up. The whole thing.
No, but it's hard when a referee's still adamant. If a referee had said, I made a mistake, I'm retracting
I don't think he was adamant though, Pete. I don't think he was adamant at all. I think he went to the corner, put his head down, and wish there was a bed there he could hide under, I reckon. I think he palmed it off pretty quick and said, you deal with it, boys. I don't think at any stage, he could have easily said, no review, that's my decision, end of story. And because they don't have to go to the review. They don't have to do it. No, the referee has...
Well, Bob Bennett runs the Nevada... He's a former FBI agent.
Yep.
So if you don't know, he's a serious dude. Bob Bennett's a serious... He's involved now with the legal stashover Tommy Morrison and Trisha. with Tommy, Trish came and Tommy never tested positive to HIV. So it was a false positive, which wrecked his whole career. So we don't know that. A lot of people are saying that Tommy didn't have HIV. So you don't know. Once these officials make a decision, a lot of them are adamant.
Yeah.
I mean, there's people sitting in jail that are not guilty. Obviously, there's people outside of jail that are guilty. So we're not going to get it right all the time.
Being adamant, but you've got to have, like especially in Andy's fight too. As I said, the referee was far from adamant. He said, "Hey, you guys deal with it. I'm going to wipe my hands of it and let them," and they still bug it up. Anyway, that's another show. But I agree with you, Tassie. I just hope it doesn't become a habit where these things. It's happened regularly in the last couple of years. Let's hope it doesn't happen going forward. So good tirade tonight. We might let Pete have a tirade next week, so he can have more of a platform to have his say, I think.
Well, just make sure he's wearing a Versace shirt or something, because I'm not seeing many brands lately.
All right, Pete. Well, we'll get on to the next one. We've got plenty to talk about next, because we're on to
my stuff in the business, mate. The truckload of money's gone to the bookies. You've been cleaning me up, so.
All right, boys, let's get into the next segment, which is the talking points. Now, before we actually get into the actual talking points tonight, guys, there's three tonight. I want to rewind to earlier in the show with the Liam Wilson situation. I forgot to get your guys' opinion. Tassie, you're in that situation. You're part of Team Wilson. The opponent comes in over 4 kilos overweight. What do you do?
Make him boil, come to an agreement as a catch weight, maybe getting the ball off at least 2. At least. I mean, they want to fight. What have they done? I'm not really up to date with what.
I'm not sure,
Pete. They just accepted it?
I think they accepted it. Is that right, Pete? They didn't say much at the weigh-in.
I accepted it.
What do you think, Pete? What would you have done if you were managing Liam Wilson?
Well, obviously, they didn't have access to Filipino people to a sauna and a spa bar to do the weight cut. And they thought they would have, and they didn't. So when you've got a guy and you haven't got that access to ball out, because everyone knows, I mean, Faris Chevalier, his last fight, we lost 4.5 kilo the morning of the fight. You didn't have a sauna or a scale, he would have came in at 82, 83 kilo and lost his title. So I'm not blaming anyone here, but the Filipino people should have Googled up a sauna or a spa house, got up early, caught a taxi, got him in there, had their own scales and weighed him on. Obviously, they didn't do that. So he's coming overweight. Obviously, he's going to pay massive amounts off his purse, which is a massive purse, I'm told. And because, look, Filipinos tend to do that. Pacquiao lost his world title on the scales, his flyweight world title in Thailand on the scales. And people were saying he was going to lose it a month before. So they tend to do that. Marvin Sensona did the same thing. It's a common thing that they lose it on the scales. And guess what? Once they turn up overweight, they never perform well. So as if that's going to help him. I think he's got no chance tomorrow night. I think he's got zero chance. Because I'm just going by the facts. Normally when Filipino boxers turn up overweight on the scales, they don't win. So you can go to you guys that are getting on Sportsbet, back Liam Wilson. Last time I said Nornoy would win. This time I'm saying Liam Wilson, because when they turn up overweight, the Filipino fighters, they don't win. So next Thursday, you can say you got egg on your face, Pete, you were wrong, but I bet I'm not wrong. I bet Liam Wilson wins the fight.
I believe you, because I know that's your expertise. You know Filipino fighters better than anyone probably in Australia. So I'll tend to go with what you think, Pete, because I know you know what you're talking about when it comes to Filipino fighters. I think, Lyndon,
for sure. I agree with you. Me personally, I would have been like you, Tassie. Would have said, look, at least try and get 2 off, but we still want a nice substantial compensation payment. But if he wasn't going to lose it, I'd say, Liam, look, it's great that you want to fight anyway, but the fight is off. That's what I would have said. And let him go. I would have, I'm sure No Limit would have paid him anyway. And then maybe try and get on another card, the other card at the end of the
It's happened on bigger fights than this worldwide.
Yeah,
it's happened.
Well, the thing is too, there's another big show March 30th in Sydney, I think it is. That's the Jade Mitchell one. So they could easily get him another opponent there or negotiate again. But I don't know. I just think after what Noino did to him last time, wouldn't be giving away 4 kilos, even though he didn't look in shape. But now that you've said that, Pete, I 100% agree that, I'll be looking tomorrow night to see if he can perform or not.
He won't perform. Watch, 99%, well, I'd say 95% of Filipino fighters that turn up overweight get beat. It's a fact. I don't know what it is.
So,
and
Yep. Sorry, mate, I was just going to say, so...
For his world flyweight title in Thailand, he got stopped in 4 rounds.
So, just on that then, so how does... He was obviously on weight the first time they fought, and he's come back again and 4 kilos heavier. Are they not taking it seriously?
He didn't have a sauna and a...
Is that an excuse? I mean, they're probably here for a week or so. Surely that someone would say, hey, we need a sauna, or at least a set of scales.
They should have brought they should have Googled up a sauna place.
Yeah. He made weight last time in quarantine, mind you. He was in quarantine last time.
Yeah.
I got told they didn't have access to a sauna and a steamboat. So
I've got a feeling. I've got a feeling too, though, Pete, that looking at the reaction of all concerned, I don't think it was a massive surprise because the promoters didn't seem shocked. Liam's team didn't seem shocked. It was all just a pretty much, hey guys, let's come over here and let's work out what's going to happen. So I've got a feeling they knew. I'm not sure, maybe they thought it was going to be 4 kilos, but I've got a feeling that everyone knew that maybe he was going to be over and were prepared for it. So anyway, we'll see you tomorrow night. So on to the talking points for this week. Let's go on to the first one. We'll go to you first, Tassie. Fox Sports should have put Aussie fans first and televised Zarapha Hardman. Because it's not going to be televised. No.
They're not?
No.
Yeah, definitely. It's the best, Aussie fight out there at the moment. I didn't know. I assumed it was going to be. So I don't know if this is due to Fox having a grudge against Zarapha, but yeah, I think that it is that big a fight that let bygones be bygones. And I'm a bit surprised, that it's not. So yeah, I'm a bit shocked. I didn't know this.
Yeah, Pete, I know when I interviewed Michael a couple of months ago, he said that the bridges were getting mended with Fox Sports, but obviously not enough. And there was actually the documentary on him on Foxtel not long ago either. So obviously that hasn't smoothed things over. But do you agree Fox Sports should have said let's put our investment in boxing at the forefront and let's get this fight on regardless of our opinion as a Zarapha?
Yeah, but Fox Sports have got contracts with No Limit and Dean Lonergan, and apparently they've got 10 dates each. So there's 20 dates they've budgeted to. This one should have fell in between one of those shows. Obviously,
but why isn't Dean Lonergan, who's
obviously
fighter?
Obviously, the Foxtel people are going with the promoters and not what fight you can produce. So they're trusting their money in the promoter rather than the fight. Well, that fight, Zarapha and Hardman, should be on Foxtel. No response or maybe. Now, if No Limit were doing it, I bet it would have been on Fox.
Or Dean L. But I'm with you, Tassie. I haven't spoken to Dean about it, but I would have thought that Fox Sports would have sat down with Sam LeBruna and Dean Lonergan or whoever's involved and said, look, guys, we want this, regardless of your little arrangement, who's going to actually promote the fight, we want this to be D&L to be part of one of their fights and let him promote it. Whatever deal.
It's his fighter.
Yeah, whatever. Well,
I
think Dean was obviously open to letting Sam LeBruna promote the show, and that's whatever reason or arrangement they've got, that's between them. But I would have thought the executives of Fox Sports would have said, guys, we want this to be a D&L event, so you guys work out whatever you need to behind the scenes, but it needs to be D&L. It just surprises me. But just on this, guys, you'll see tonight there's no episode of The Road to Zarapha and Hardman. I've decided to actually shelve it for the time being, because not just because of Fox not televising, but so far there's been absolutely zero marketing from anyone concerned. The only one I see actively trying to promote it whatsoever is Isaac Hardman, and even that's just with social media. So no presses, no media, no marketing, nothing. So if the promoters don't feel like getting behind it and promoting the event, well, I don't think we're going to waste time in the segment to get behind it. So until they decide to promote it, then we're going to shelve it. Hopefully they'll get a bit behind it, because people, 7 weeks out and nothing. We've got a poster out that looks like it's been done by someone, a fan or associate who's done it on Photoshop, whatever. It's not a professional poster. I don't know who's done it, so if you're watching, no offence. But when you see events like this, they have the proper poster, proper marketing tools, they have press releases, they have all that sort of stuff. We've seen nothing. And the poster...
Might have been Peter Smith. Peter Smith didn't make the poster, did he, Peter?
Well, who knows? But what do you think, Pete? You know Sam and the team pretty well.
It's April 20. Let's wait. I think they're going to announce it pretty soon, and they're going to move with it.
Well, let's hope so.
Just wait, Lyndon. Just wait. Listen,
let's just wait.
I'm waiting.
You got a bit of grey in the beard.
It's going to get greyer.
Full grey.
Oh, look, but look, all jokes aside, I want to get behind this on the show and get real about it. But so far, not to say we won't come back to it, but at the moment, it's everyone involved. There's been absolutely no effort whatsoever to get it out there, including if it's the official poster. I hope it's not, but if that's the best they've got and they're relying on just the the usuals to buy the tables and that sort of stuff, and I don't know. I hope we don't get to it. We've got a half-empty convention centre and 500 people watching online. I hope it's not. We don't get to that point. So come on.
I want to do another shout out.
Yep.
To a very good guy, friend of yours, isn't it, Jack Dilks?
Yep.
Who's one of the best media guys, videos. He can do a poster.
Steve Dilks.
Jack Dilks.
Steve Dilks.
Legend.
Yeah, Steve's a great guy.
Yeah, Steve Dilks done our poster, but don't pump him up too much. He gets a bit of a big head, Steve. So just and Jack's his son.
I was talking about Jack. So
Jack's a great kid.
Yeah, yep. So he'll be listening to this. So Jack, if you're listening, shout out to you and your dad.
He knows Tassie.
Good mate of mine, Jack.
He knows Tassie loves him. He knows that.
He's
got
the dream.
He'll be barracking for me in the quiz, Tassie. Don't worry about that.
No chance, Peter.
I'm trying to
Let's
win
get
it
on.
over.
When are we going?
All right, we've got a couple of talking points to get through. Number 2. This is a bit of a one I threw in. Rescoring fights from the past could open a can of worms. Now, Tassie first, obviously, we mentioned this the other night on Classic Fights that the Jeff Fennick Azuma Nelson fight looks like it's going to be reopened for scoring by the WBC. They might award a WBC retrospective title. But does this open a can of worms for about 100 other fights that could maybe put their hand up for a belt?
Probably does. Probably does, yeah.
Yeah, look, end of the day, we joke about it, but what do you think, Pete? Could this happen where the WBC, WBA, IBF are inundated with requests to review fights?
Yeah, but just say they do review the Jeff Fennick Azuma Nelson one. Will BoxRec change the result? Will
no, they
Jeff
won't.
be awarded?
They won't.
Jeff be recognised as a 4-division world champion.
No.
If they're not going to do it, what is it really?
Yeah.
You want it done the way it should have been done.
Yeah.
So
I don't think they'll do that. I don't think the decision will change.
Not officially, no.
No.
Well, it's a bit like the Hurricane, Reuben Carter. They awarded him the retrospective WBC middleweight belt, but it was never actually officially changed and as him being the champion.
They say Wayne Harms and Collingwood in the 79 final. He kept it in from Bay 14.
I hope it was out. That's all I've said all along. I really hope that ball was out by a metre.
Lay the boots in, Lyndon. Lay the boots in.
Yeah, I hope it was out by at least a metre, Wayne Arm. So
Sheldon just gets a nice Joey the Goose. Sheldon gets a nice Joey the Goose into the square and breaks a few of the Pies' hearts.
All right. Well, anyway, if it does happen, best wishes to Jeff, who at least will be officially, unofficially recognised as the winner of that fight. So I hope that has a little bit of closure for Jeff and all of us fans. Let's go on to the last talking point, guys, before we get into the quiz. Now, let me explain this one. Aussie boxers need to read the room better when it comes to fans. Now, what I'm just talking about here is this thing creeping into boxing at the moment with a lot of these boxers who think they're in America or wherever. And I understand this trash talking and building it up, but I think we're sort of crossing the line where these guys aren't doing themselves any favours. I'm just going to put up a quick video. This is probably the latest one I saw River Daz at the press conference the other day.
And I've got it. I don't know if he can hit me, and honestly, I think he's very fortunate that I don't get to wrap my shin around his throat or elbow him. So, look, honestly...
That's all right, mate. I'm going to wrap my fist around your face. You're going to go out in your back.
Look,
Stop being cocky in front of the cameras. Say your word and be done.
I'm looking forward to it, mate. So, yeah, this is going to be a really good fight. Let's do this.
I think actually Stevie Spark handled himself really well there. But look, I'm not... And again, this is not a crack at just River Daz here. What I'm saying is that we saw it a little bit with the Liam Wilson scenario a couple of fights back where he got in this habit. And I think it was a little bit of Liam maybe not being media trained properly yet, and his reaction was to get a little bit narky and trash talk and all the rest of it. And I just don't think it did him any favours. He got a fair bit of vitriol online about it. To his credit, he's pulled his head in a lot. Obviously, with what happened in the last fight against Noine, sort of forced that as well. But I think he's really changed his persona. But we saw it with Alex Hannon and the New Zealand guy. And look, I'm not saying you can't do it, but what do you reckon, Tassie? There's a bit of a line to cross where you've got to, I know you've got to market yourself, you've got to get yourself out there, you've got to talk it up, you've got to get yourself noticed, you've got the promoters looking to get you back on the show. But do you think there's a right way and a wrong way to go about it? Does he really need to say he wishes he could kick him in the head?
But boxing traditionally was a gentleman's sport.
Yep.
Marcus at Queensbury. Now, there's been a lot of characters in the sport, but no, I've got no time for it. I always hate the UFC, how they always have to have some sort of drama and fight. Like, I'm all for people promoting a fight. Yeah. The greatest was Muhammad Ali.
Yeah.
But Muhammad Ali didn't.
You can do it with class.
He didn't swear or threaten people's lives. Anthony Mundine, the best Australia's ever had to promote him.
Yep.
He never attacked someone or that. I mean, so lately this younger generation, it's woeful. I don't like it. There's no need for it. And like if they're trying to be like America or they're trying to be like the UFC, I don't like it. And also too, even the way the interviews lately, swearing and carrying on, like, have a bit of respect. Like, it's a big turn off. And they're not at that level anyway where you can get away with some stuff. They're not there. I don't condone it in any level. But, just let you promote the fight, talk and say I'm the greatest, but don't go saying I want to kill him, I want to put him in foot on his throat or shoot his mother or whatever else. Shit.
Pete, what do you think? And when I say they need to read the room, so they don't need to stop marketing themselves and trash talk. I understand that, but just look at the Australian market. The great fighters of the past, they didn't need to do that. Even at the moment, you've got guys like Tszyu and George Kambosos, and George Kambosos is probably the best example of it. Gets himself out there. Everyone, I know there's some that love him, some that hate him, whatever. But at the end of the day, they all talk about him. They all know him. They all go and watch him. And he doesn't need to swear and tell him he's going to kick him in the throat or shoot him or whatever like that. I mean, do you think these young kids need to look at the Kamboses and Tszyus of the world and Canelos and these types of guys and just as I said, read the room a little bit better when it comes to your fans that are shelling out the money to watch your fight?
River Diaz is a great guy.
He is, and I'm not pointing the finger at him. I'm just using that as an example. That's all. I don't mean to throw him under the bus as the sole point to this. What I'm saying is just the latest example of just creeping in. That's all.
Yeah, no, I fully agree. I mean, more respect to the sport. It's a gentleman's sport, and River's a warrior, and obviously, his opponent's a warrior. Let him do it tomorrow night. You don't need to talk too much crap.
Yeah,
and it's not as if you're the main event. And it's pay-per-view wise as well.
Yep, and even you look at on that same card with Dennis Hogan and Wade Ryan. Now that's probably going to be one of the best fights of the night. But they got in there and they did. I know they've both been around the block a few times, but they did it with a bit of class. And I just think if you're watching, guys, the Aussie fans were not the American fight fans that love all that trash talk and all the bullshit with the that they do over there. Fight fans will get behind you if you just let your fighting talk for itself in the ring and have a personality, say what you got to say, but just don't be a dick, and that's, I'm not trying to overemphasize it, but I think that's just what's just sort of creeping in at the moment. And to be honest, I was just going to say too, if I was a Dean Lonigan or a George Rose or Matt Rose or whoever it is, and you're doing these press conferences on TV and the live broadcast in the ring and all that sort of stuff, I'd be pulling these guys aside before the press conference saying, boys, when you're out there today, keep it classy. Say what you got to say, but keep it classy. This is our reputation. And Fox Sports executives saying the same thing beforehand. Guys, have your say, but we're not going to put up with no shit in the ring. We'll just cut you off and we'll move on. Because at the end of the day, Ben Damon gets in the ring and interviews these guys. They're doing them a favour. They're letting the Australian public into who they are. And the first thing you hear is that come out of their mouth, and some of it's just
mate.
Shocking,
there should be fines and sanctions.
Yeah,
I agree.
I agree. So I'm not trying to be an old nana here, but just
no, mate.
have some class.
Agree. Have a bit of class. Yeah. So just there's no need for it.
You don't need to do it. Just be yourself. Let your fist do the talking. Have your say. Let people fall in love with you, with your personality and your skills. Okay, so
less talk, more action.
hit it on the head there, Pete.
Lyndon. Good talking point, mate. One of
Good
your better
stuff,
ones,
mate.
actually.
All right, let's get on to the segment everyone's been waiting for. It is the world famous boxing deep dive quiz. I always get nervous about around this time.
Here
Because
we
I don't
go.
know. Did you just put the singlet on there, Tassie, or you've had that on the whole show?
Yeah, he's
The whole
he's
time.
trying to do some intimidation stuff here. He's
I'm
flexing and
surprised
going
you
at
haven't got the
it.
hands wrapped.
The microphone too. He's got 100th of a split second on me. He's right up to the mic.
Well, it's Grant Tassie Brown against Pistol Pete Maniatis. It's what we all look forward to every week. Tassie's the reigning champion. I think you've had the last 2 or 3 wins. So yeah, I think you know the rules enough by now for us to jump straight into it.
Yeah.
So we've got 5 questions of the Aussies, 5 questions of the world. So let's get into it, guys. Best of luck. The country, I was just going to ask the first question here, what country, but yeah, this is about the Maloney twins, the first couple of questions. So I hope you've done your research there. In what country did Andrew Maloney win his Commonwealth Games?
Peter!
Yes, Peter.
Glasgow,
What country?
Scotland.
Yes, Scotland. That was the question. So 1 to Pete. This one's about Jason. Who did Jason Maloney lose to in his first...
Peter!
Yes, Peter.
Adrian Rodriguez.
Incorrect. Tassie? Who did he lose to?
It's Rodriguez. What's the first name? I'll say Alex Rodriguez.
Emmanuel Rodriguez was his name. Rodriguez. I can spit that out.
He's quick off the button tonight, Peter. He's fucking
very quick
on the button.
He's sharp. He's
sharp.
I think he's been doing the push-ups before the show, I reckon.
Freshly shaven. He looks good.
Number 3. Who are the 3 Tim Tszyu victims fighting on tomorrow night's card?
Tassie.
Yes, Tassie.
Wade Ryan.
Yeah.
Steve Spark.
Yeah.
And Dennis Hogan.
Correct. I knew that. I thought Wade Ryan might have thrown you, but because it was very early in his career. Is that 1-1? I think it is. Yep. All right. In what state was Shannon O'Connell born?
Peter!
Yes, Peter.
Victoria.
Incorrect. Tassie.
Be a trick question here.
A little bit of a trick question. What state was she born?
Western Australia.
South Australia. Born in Adelaide. She's a South Aussie girl. She loves the Crows. Still 1-1. No, is it 1-1? Yeah, 1-1. All right. Last Aussie question. Who did Danny Green beat to win the WBA light heavyweight?
Tassie.
Yes, Peter.
Stripe Drews.
That was him. Yep. 2-1. That's a good one. That was his real legitimate one, the WBA one. I know there's lots of other versions. All right. Number 6. What Olympics did Antonio Tarver compete?
Tassie.
Peter!
Yes, Tassie.
96 Atlanta.
Correct. I was there. I saw him there hanging out with Mayweather and Vargas and all the rest of them. What's that? 2-2. Here we go. Going to be a close one tonight. Another Olympic question. Who was the first 1984 LA Olympian to win a world title?
Tassie.
Yes, Tassie.
Meldrick Taylor.
Incorrect. Pete.
Colonel Whitaker.
Incorrect. It was Evander Holyfield. July '86, he beat Dwight Muhammad Kawi for the cruiserweight.
That's a tough one because so many stars in that 84 team.
And they all won it.
Breland.
Yep.
That's a tough one. Virgil Hill.
Frank Tate.
Fucking tough one.
Yep.
They had a top team.
Well, if you remember last week, Tassie, I was told to make the questions a little bit harder by your mate over here. So over there, sorry.
What are we on? We've only answered 4 between us.
Yeah, that's question number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that was question 7. So it's 2-2, I think.
Yeah.
2-2.
Yeah.
All right. This is for the English fans out there. Who gave Nigel Benn his first loss?
Peter!
Tassie, just.
Michael Watson.
He did. Can you remember what round?
Does that matter?
Nah, it doesn't. I was just asking.
No, I don't.
Do you remember,
The
Pete?
10th.
Sixth round.
6.
All right, so 3-2 for Tassie. Who knocked out Boom Boom Mancini in his final fight?
Tassie.
Yes, Tassie. His final fight. Three,
yeah,
two,
I've got, yeah,
one.
I've got
Pete,
a pass.
you get a first you crack at it yourself.
Hector Camacho.
Greg Haugen knocked him out in his final ever fight. 3-2. All right, we can only have a draw here. We'll see how we go. We might have to have a tiebreaker. All right, who am I? I was born on November 12th, 1967. I turned professional in 1988, and after just 11 fights, won my first world title. I then defended the title 9 times, all by knockout. In 1991, after struggling to make weight, I moved up and won the WBO version of the world title. 3 years later, I unified the title after a tough 12-round decision over an all-time great. However, in my first defense, I was knocked out in the 10th round in one of the biggest underdog stories of all time. I briefly retired before coming back and winning the IBF version of the title. After 2 defences, I lost attempting to unify the title before retiring in 2008 with a 52-4-1 with 40 knockout record. I briefly became Freddie Roach's right-hand man in 2000.
Tassie!
Tassie.
Michael Mora.
Correct. Michael Mora. Jeez, I was just wondering whether you were actually going to get that, guys. That was the very last clue. Was that a hard one, Pete?
No, when you mentioned, I was going to go more, and then when you mentioned Freddie Roach, I knew.
Yeah. Only briefly. I think he's only with him for a year or two. But
4-2, boys. 3 in a row.
Yeah, well, mate, I'd like to know the call card on the one before that, but it is what it is. We're split seconds apart.
Which one was that? The the Nigel Benn one?
Yeah.
I don't think it mattered in the end anyway. I think it was 4-2 for Tassie.
Yeah.
But I think we'll go back and watch Pete the replay. I think you'll see that Tassie just got in a split second before. Not even a split second. So,
take it on the chin,
No,
Pete. Take it on the chin.
have we got another disputed decision here, have we?
Take it on the chin,
No, it's all right. It's all right.
Can't win them all.
No,
You're better than that, Peter. You're better than that.
That's why I always get nervous with the quiz, because I know because there's always that
I'm going to order some Uber Eats now to celebrate my victory.
Well,
The Michael Moore one was was he born in 67, was
67. Yep, 67. In I can't remember. It wasn't in Detroit.
he? He won a world title in his 11th fight.
Yep, against I can't remember who it was. I did have it written down there. It was a WBO title. Burt Cooper. Not Burt Cooper. That was a WBO heavyweight title. He won the WBO light heavyweight title after 11
Yeah, he was
fights.
light heavyweight. He was a gun light heavyweight.
Yeah, well, he won 24 fights. His first 24
He was
fights. by knockout.
unbeatable. He was sparring Thomas Hearns back then and giving him nightmares.
Yeah,
Because
well,
it was with him. Yeah.
He was living with Emmanuel. He
Yeah.
was living with him.
yeah.
He was a gun.
I didn't want to put that in. That would have made it a little bit easier that he was with Emmanuel Stewart and went from light heavyweight to cruiserweight and all. He went from light heavyweight straight to heavyweight, didn't he? Yeah, not cruiserweight.
When you said British, I was thinking it's going to be a British fighter.
No. Did I say British? Did I say British?
Nah.
Anyway.
Good
All right,
quiz.
guys. Well, mate, have a good
Boys.
night watching the fights, which will be tonight by the time people are watching this. So thanks again, guys, for coming on a Wednesday night. And look forward to seeing you next week on Boxing Deep Dive.
See you, boys.
All
Thanks,
right,
guys.
guys.